What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. It is the 7th of December. We are about 3.5 hours into the new day, a little bit past that, and we closed yesterday's candle at $99,862. That is the highest daily close we've ever had, and that's very refreshing to see after yesterday's what they would call Darth Maul candlestick, right? Where it's like a Darth Maul lightsaber. If you don't know what the Darth Maul lightsaber looks like, Darth Maul. How do I say? There we go, Maul lightsaber. It's this one, right? I mean, I didn't actually have to show you this, did I? Because really, it looks just like this, where it's coming out both ends here. So after seeing this very indecisive candle, getting a bullish engulfing candle with just about average volume, that's pretty nice to see. Something that was a higher daily close than anything else we've seen throughout this whole kind of like sideways movement here. It does give me optimism that we are going to move to the upside. We are going to see a breakout to the upside. It is the weekend. It is Saturday today, so don't expect it to happen today. It can. We have seen, especially during these bullish kind of phases with Bitcoin and crypto, these weekends where the price can get away. I can definitely see breakouts during the weekend, but generally speaking, we have no action on the weekend, right? There's less volume, there's less activity going on, so we just don't make those kind of moves. Those are saved for the weekday. So I would assume perhaps over the next couple days, we pull back maybe as low as like 97K. We might not pull back at all. Maybe we do just slowly kind of crawl our way upwards. That was weird, whatever I just drew there. Slowly crawl our way upwards. But sometime next week, I would think early next week, we kick off this move, this phase that's going to take us up to prices above 110K. And I don't think we're stopping until we see 123K or higher. If we take a high to a low here on our fib from our previous consolidation phase, right? This was our bear cycle low down here, November 2022. We had our whole bull market like ignition right here starting, and then we had our pre-cycle high back in March of this year, and then consolidated for 7.5 months, right? This whole phase where we consolidated after our initial run up from the high to the low of that phase, we are now above the 1,618 golden ratio, right? And we've been above it for the last 3 weeks, but we've been consolidating above it, and closing above it on a daily basis as well, which I think is pretty nice to see. Generally, whenever you're doing this, whenever you're showing a break of this level, the next areas that I look to personally are anywhere from about the 1886 to the 2618, somewhere in this zone here, which is 105,000. I think that's in the bag. I think we have that. The next target would be 123K, and after that is 142K, about there, right? Generally speaking, with the 1618 breaking, you don't expect to stop at the 1886, right? If it was just one fell swoop of a move up, okay, maybe you stop there. But consolidating like this, confirming support day after day, week after week, I don't think when we move up from this zone, it's just to stop right here. I don't think so. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think at least at a minimum, the next target, which would be 123, and I can hear some people, maybe you don't know. Sorry, I have asthma. I got to clear my throat. Maybe you don't know anything about the fibs, and that's okay. I can hear some people saying, you say the next target's 123, but what about this target? What about the 200? The 200 level is actually not and I know it says 2, but it's 200% 2 in numbers. That's how percentages work, right? A percent is a decimal, so when you have 200%, it's a 2. And anyways, it's not a fib, and I treat the 200. Really, I should probably make this purple along with the 1886 to label it as kind of a zone. The 1886 to 200 area, that's kind of a zone in itself, I would say. But generally speaking, no. If you break the 1886, you don't look to stop at the 200. You do look for the 2272 generally, and especially in these kind of conditions. So I'm optimistic. I think things are going to be really good for the next week of Bitcoin. Something else to kind of consider, I think, would be looking at where we are on our weekly time frame here with the RSI. We've been overbought now. Let's see, for 1 week here, this is our first week. We've been overbought now for 4 weeks. This is our 4th week right now. Okay, in a row, 4th week in a row. You can't be overbought forever. It would be nice if you were. But the last time we were overbought, at least after being out of the overbought zone for a while, we got overbought this week here. And we were overbought. We didn't get out of the overbought zone until 11 weeks afterwards, right? 11 weeks. And at that point, on that 11th week, we were right here. We literally actually found our top on that 11th week, on that week that we came out of the overbought zone. Before then, we found our relative high right here the high that kind of led us into moving sideways here. We found that high 6 weeks in the overbought zone. So we're on our 4th week now. At the very least, we have another 2 weeks by just this perspective alone, 2 weeks, if not more weeks of growth to do, consistent growth to do, as long as we're not moving sideways like this area here. The next time we got overbought was right here. We were overbought. Was it here? No, we weren't overbought there. So we were overbought on this week. We got out of the overbought zone here on the 9th week. So we were overbought for about 9 weeks there. And we topped off on this week. So from that week to this week, that was 5 weeks that we were overbought, and then we topped off. So we are getting close, right? We are getting close to when we probably will see a longer form of consolidation than just like a couple weeks, right? Or something that might last, most of this month, going through most of this month, and potentially even going into January of a consolidation phase after this move could happen. But I don't think this move is done until at least 123K and at least a couple more weeks goes by from here. And if we go back here, you're overbought again, not as dramatically overbought, but still a little bit overbought here. You overbought, 5 weeks there. On the 5th week you got out, and then in this instance it was 1, 2, this week here, 1, 2, 3, 4. On that 5th week, that's the week that you found your high. So 5 weeks again showing up there. I don't know. Going back in time, we broke out of our pre-halving high. Hold on. Very comparable circumstances to what we're in right now, right? This is our pre-halving high breakout move right here. We are in our pre-halving high breakout move, right? We're breaking out of our pre-halving high. So getting overbought on the weekly here, we were overbought for basically 18 weeks before we got out of the overbought zone, and it wasn't until that 17th week that we actually found a relative high based on what we've seen being in the overbought zone here. But I guess our first real high where we consolidated more than just this moving sideways, that was at 11 weeks. So it's just nice to see that, even at a minimum, 5 weeks would imply that we have one more week of growth. But, comparing it to the same circumstances or similar circumstances as we had last time, that's kind of encouraging, seeing 11 weeks there. And then here, we had this was our pre-halving high here, because our halving was in July. Oh, no, yeah, it was July 26th, so it would have been here. This time we were overbought for how long? I'm not going to count this as getting out of the overbought zone, right? Even though it is kind of technically just barely out of it, I'm not going to count that. I would say this is when. So 10 weeks there. And from that point, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks to find your high. So still, still 8 weeks. We're at the 4th week now. Still just every iteration that we've gone over so far. I don't know if it seems like a waste of time. I don't know how many people. I know that as these videos go on, I lose viewer retention, because as we go on, there's more and more details that get mentioned, and I'm sure it just, it gets boring. I get it. It's boring to do your homework. You guys have real things going on in life. You got to cook dinner. Your baby's crying. You got to take the dog out. I get it. Whatever. But this is stuff that I think is good to know, because now that you're aware that basically literally every example that we just went over, which we measured the last 3 times that we were in the overbought zone on the weekly, I think it's safe to say that this instance is going to be more comparable to one of these versus this. And even this pathetic little thing right here moved up for 5 weeks. We've only been doing it for 4 weeks, right? So since we've been overbought, 1, 2, 3, we're on the 4th week now. So at least one more week of growth, if not more likely more than that worth of growth. And that would make sense, because if we only grew for one more week, if we only saw, if next week we were at 120 to 130K and then we consolidated from there, we got out of the overbought zone, we probably wouldn't have a Santa Claus rally, and we wouldn't have a good end of year rally. It would have to wait until January, right? Because we do need some time to consolidate after that. It's not like what it is now, this little who cares consolidation phase that's not really doing anything, right? Whenever we hit 123 or higher, we're likely going to see a more sizable correction than anything we've seen since we broke above 70K. Since we, really anything that we've seen, probably since we were at that 73K pullback, because that was 73K to 66K. How much of a percentage was that? 9%. What did we have yesterday? 12%. Yeah, that's actually, I guess something bigger than that is what I would expect, right? Something bigger than a 12%, something bigger than a 9% pullback, right? I don't think it'll take as long as this would take, right? I don't think it's going to be a long, drawn out process. I think it will be fast, but before we get there, before we get to that pullback, 123 is the next target. Okay, I'm just really beating around the bush to say that. We get that target from here, from this high to low. 123 being at the 2272, and then I wonder, does it come in line with this fib too? Yes, pretty well with that. 127 at the 1414 there. Yeah, and that's not the low. This is the low. Let's get, come on. Come on, there we go. 128, very close. That 1414 is very close to the 123. Now let me tell you, I told you a little story about this fib, right? About closing above the 1618, and that's normally go for higher prices, and why it would make sense that we don't stop at the 1886, why we at least stop at the 2272. I went over this fib. Let's go over the larger fib now, right? It's because it's different. It's a different story. Oh, I didn't mean to go into full screen. It was like, let's pull up the big screen, C-Zar. Here we go. High to low. Now you're consolidating below the 1272, right? Here's your 1618. It's a different fib structure, but you're consolidating below the 1272 for the last 3 weeks. Normally in this area, whenever you consolidate or you slow down, you'll pull back. But if you consolidate, you keep moving sideways like this, and you're just consolidating below it. When you do break above the line, you don't stop. You don't stop until you at least hit the 1414, and honestly, most of the time you do exceed the 1414. So seeing prices as high as 130, even beyond that, are possible. I think by the end of this month, by the end of this move, and this move could take place over the next week, over the next couple weeks, over the end of the month. It really all depends on how fast we move, but I have a funny feeling that Bitcoin's been kind of coiling up right now, right? You've been overbought for a while. You got out of the overbought zone, but all you've done is form higher lows. You're coiled up. You're cooled off. You're ready for that next phase up. And if you saw an expansion phase, right, like you expanded here and then you coiled up, if we saw an expansion phase again and it was the same size as this one here, literally this is actually a little bit smaller, but basically the same size. If it was the same size and we started it here, like from yesterday's low, that would take us right to that 1414, right below 130K there, right? We get that next expansion phase is going to happen. And this last one only took like 9 days. So whenever I say it's going to be a week or 2 weeks that we could see these prices take place, I genuinely mean that. Like it's not going to be a slow, drawn out process at all. But time will tell. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, guys, that's all I got to say. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. The 4 hour looks bullish. I would expect we're going up. I really do think that after an indecisive day like we had yesterday and getting a bullish engulfing candle, that is a good sign. But it is the weekend, so don't be surprised if we're a little bit lagged or we move sideways, or maybe we move up one day and then we move down the next day, or maybe we move down today and then we'll move up the next day, whatever. But don't get your hopes up if we move up. Don't get your hopes down if we move down. We're probably not going to make this move until Monday next week. And with that, I leave you. If you like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I got nothing else to say. We're going to do one thing for fun, though. Let's just pull up the ribbon. Looking at it on a daily basis, it looks really good. Looks really healthy. Doesn't make me think that we want to correct here at all. Definitely makes me think we want to continue to go. Yeah. Weekly ribbon, I mean, yeah, it's just getting started, man, right? Like if you think about it here, look at, you're going through a contracting phase in your ribbon here, right? It's contracting, right? Both these points are converging on each other to some degree, and now they're expanding, right? They're getting away from each other. It's expanding. Whenever you were expanding last time, look at just where it began expanding and where your move ended, right? We're beginning expanding now. We're just starting this move out. So the weekly RSI is just, or the weekly ribbon is just getting started. Some people might look at this and be like, you're so far away from the ribbon, you have to pull back. But man, you can, in a bull market, you can be above that ribbon for a very long time. You know, for literally for months on months, man. And then of course the monthly ribbon looking bullish as ever as well. So maybe we could look at the 3-day. I don't think the 3-day would be too telling. But let's just see. 3-day looks good. There's nothing. And then anytime you get to the shorter term time frames, it's just not really helpful, honestly. Although that is a bullish 4 hour ribbon for what I can say. Anyways, guys, I'm just rambling at this point. Just pulled this up to take a look at it. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to see more content like this. Bitcoin's going to be at 123K or more, and likely more, probably above 130K. I'm thinking before we're even halfway done with this month, man, honestly, at this rate. But we'll see. Time will tell. Take care. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.